But I had started thinking about what a sequel would look like.
Hmm.
And it was certainly centered on the children. And Joyce would be there now as a mother-in-law.
The Polygamist is the show everyone is talking about. It's become one of the biggest global streaming sensations of this year. But before it was on our screens, it was a novel written by Sue Nyathi, the woman who imagined characters like Jonasi, Joyce, Essie, and more before millions of people met them on screen. In this conversation, we go beyond the series. We talk about the writing journey, why there's no such thing as overnight success, only overnight recognition, and the invisible prisons that we sometimes put ourselves in. This conversation is especially special to me as someone who also calls Bulayo home. This is my conversation with Sunyati. Enjoy. Oh my goodness, the polygamist. Everyone is talking about the polygamist. Every time I go on TikTok, on Instagram, I feel like my worlds are colliding because I'm seeing like some, creators that I follow from America, from the UK, from everywhere. Everyone's like the polygamist, and everyone is crediting you. So, first of all, I want to say, and I hope people will allow me to say on behalf of people from Bulawayo, if no one has already said it to you, we are so proud.
Oh,
Um,
ngiyabonga.
no, no, no. I mean, my first question is, Sue, please tell us what's your prayer? Please tell us the prayer points, exactly the prayer that you prayed, so that Lati we can pray that same prayer.
I was like, God, you did it for Jabez, do it for me. Expand my
Amen.
territory. Yeah, that's my prayer point.
No, is that it? Was that really your prayer point?
Yes, it really was.
Wow.
Amongst many others, but that was my prayer point. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I used to pray that. I was like, expand my territory, expand my sales just beyond, Southern Africa. I need to grow.
So,
And
so,
that was the answer.
so this is not is this a surprise to you? The global response?
The global response is a surprise because I thought, maybe, I would be selling across Africa. I wasn't even thinking global. You see, God, uNkulunkulu lezimanga,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Yeah, his ways are higher than our ways. So I think, yes, I envisioned growth, but I had not expected it to be this big. So yeah, that's why I'm saying uNkulunkulu lezimanga.
Oh my goodness. Wow, wow. I'm making notes. I'm gonna and funny enough, I have a friend of mine who used to have the book, The Prayer of
Mhm.
Jabez,
Yeah.
that was gifted by an uncle to that friend.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I will definitely revisit that. Okay, let's get into it, right?
Mhm.
The adaptation of your book,
Yes.
The Polygamist, which you self-published in 2012,
Mhm.
right? I've heard you talking about the journey of beginning to write this book. You mentioned that you wrote it in 2010, but I guess I just kind of want to understand from you, like, what was the process like with this particular book, The Polygamist? Like when you wrote it, like how long did it take? Did you always have a feeling that I'm onto something here, or not? Yeah.
No, I never had any feeling about being onto anything. It was just supposed to be an entertaining read, and light-hearted. It started off as something light-hearted, but then I think it evolved and got deeper and darker. So when I wrote it over 6 months. I started writing it after the 2010 World Cup. I just found myself with a lot of time on my hands, and I just wanted to de-stress. And I'd not written anything new in a long time. So I was just looking for something just fresh and new to write because I'd been battling with my manuscript Family Affair for many years. So I just decided, let me leave it alone and just write something new. And then when I started writing it, I started sharing chapters with two of my friends, Jessica Manatsa and Precious Umbika. So I would write 2, 3 chapters and then I'll share with them. And then they would be like, hey, yay, can we have the next chapter? So they're not right. So I think they would then they'd be like, Sue, can't you, where's the rest of it? So that made me also write fast because I had two readers who were like, hey, we want to read the next chapter. So, but when I was writing it, I wasn't thinking anything of it. As I often write, I don't postulate like what is going to become of the story. I just write what I want to write at that point in time, or whatever I'm reckoning with at that point in time. I never actually think about what is going to become of the book, who's going to be the audience, yada yada. I think all those are like marketing questions. When I'm writing a story, I'm just focused on the characters and the story that I want to tell. And I think that's very important because if you start thinking of your audience, you can also start censoring yourself, or you don't want abantu bazothini as you are writing, because I think that will then influence the outcome and the product. So I just always just try to close off everything and
Yeah.
focus on the story.
Right. So when you finished writing the book, like after 6 months, and obviously you had been getting like feedback from your friends, then what was the next step, right? Because I've heard you talking about, I guess, looking for publishing, and am I correct in saying this was when you were in Zim?
No, no, no. I wrote the book when I was in South Africa.
Right. Okay.
I had already moved here at that time. I
Mm-hmm.
was now based in South Africa. And my next step was to find an editor because I was told get the work edited first and then look for a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
So I found an editor. Her name was Paula. Her name is Paula Murray. We have since become very good friends. So Paula had an imprint called Logagog. Yeah, so she knew a lot of people in the industry. So she put out query letters to see if there was anyone interested. And we just got rejection letters after rejection letters. So there was no interest at all. And then she suggested to me self-publishing. And I was not familiar with self-publishing, having, in Zim, that's we always knew about traditional publishing, but not self-publishing. So she was like, try it out, and it's a good way to put your name out there, and it's a great book. So she was like, don't, you can self-publish. So she's the one who then introduced me to the world of self-publishing. I mean, the biggest difference with self-publishing is that you foot the entire bill for everything from edits, layout, typesetting, proofreading, everything, design. Printing and then distribute. You carry all those costs. So yeah, so that's then the route that I took. And mind you, I knew nothing about the publishing industry. I was still very a novice, coming into it as just a writer with a
Yeah.
dream to get published. Yeah.
And then so when you self-publish, like how many books do you order? Like how does it work? Where do the books go? Um, because I'm assuming at the time, yeah, there was Amazon or whatever, right? What does it look like
No, no.
practically?
When you
Yeah.
self-publish, you're actually printing the book. You're not just doing an ebook.
Right.
You're actually doing physical copies of the book. So I think in our initial print run, we did 1,000 books,
Okay.
which I think was also very uh, ambitious.
Mm,
This is what I mean when I say I didn't know much about the industry, because some people might have then done maybe fewer copies
yeah.
just to test the market. But it was also economies of scale. The
Mm,
more copies you print, the cheaper it is. So yeah, so I did a big print run. And I think also in my naivety, I had this idea that the book would fly off the shelves,
mm-hmm,
not knowing that it would move very, very slowly, actually.
mm,
So it was just, yeah, it was a learning curve, I think, for me every step of the way, and understanding, that you need to market the work. Um, and I think also the time when The Polygamist came out, then 50 Shades of Grey came out, and that book was an instant bestseller. And I
right.
was like, and then why is my book not moving like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was those kind of things that were happening in the context.
Yeah. And then is there a moment where you ever felt like, let me just give up?
No, I it wasn't so much just to give up, but
Mm,
it didn't perform the way I was expecting. So it didn't, and but the few people who had started reading it loved it, and they were recommending it. But yeah, like I'm saying, it was like, okay, it's out there in the world, but it's moving very slowly in the world, and it wasn't getting the traction that I had hoped it would get. And yeah, but look, I didn't have much pressure because I was still working full time then. So it wasn't like I needed to survive on the money, or it was just something that I'd been wanting to do. So it was almost like a dream,
Mm,
a dream realized, I'm finally out there. Yeah, and life still carried on.
mm.
Yeah.
And maybe just quickly just diving into the book, but I'll mostly focus on themes. But Jonasi Gomorrah, right? I just
Hmm.
want to know like the inspiration behind the name Jonasi because it works so perfectly. Like when you when you, even when you watch the when you're reading it, you're like, yeah, Jonasi. Even when you're like really like expressing, so I'm like I just want to know, I guess, the name, where that came from, and just when you wrote that, are there people in your life that have been like, "Oh, is this about so and so? Is this about is this about this person?" Yeah.
Not at all. So no one's ever in my life said, "Is this about?" No. People who know me have never actually asked, "Well, you're right." No, because it's not someone we know.
Mm-hmm.
Jonasi is he he represents a certain kind of man, and it's a man that all of us know.
Yeah.
So you see, it's not just me, but everyone knows a Jonasi, whether he's your husband, he's your father, he's your uncle. I built him, from what observation really, and then I built up this character to represent that man who is essentially a narcissist. But at that time when I wrote the book, I didn't have the language
Mm-hmm.
for what a narcissist was. I mean, now narcissism is in our lingo, and I think we've been educated about what it is. But I think back then in 2010, there was nothing like that. We didn't even know. I didn't know the term existed and
Mm,
how a narcissist behaved. But I think in writing that character, I was essentially describing, one, not knowing it. So sometimes, that's what I'm saying, subconsciously, we also recreate things that we've experienced. And I've probably, I have I've dated narcissists, right? And so I have had that lived experience of narcissism in my life, through various relationships and connections. So that's where the inspiration also came. And also seeing people like that. You build up this character. But I've had men over the years who have called me and said, "You were writing about me. This is my life." um I feel like it's my story that you're telling. So I've had those kind of reactions, right? From men that I don't even know. So
mm,
that's why I'm saying I'm not writing about a particular person.
mm,
The character represents a particular person. Not so there wasn't one person that I said, I'm gonna make you Jonasi. And I think the name might have come, I don't remember now because it's so many years, what inspired the name. But I know there was a song by Stimela that I liked a lot. I Hate Telling a Lie. Um, I don't
mhm,
know if I heard it after the fact, but I don't know. Yeah, because now it's been so long. But Gomorrah, I know I was very intentional because it comes from Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible.
mhm,
But Gomorrah also has a meaning. It's a Shona surname.
mhm.
And I think it's about, digging up something and uprooting something. So it also does mean something in Shona.
Yeah.
But for me, when I chose that surname, it was simply because it was a derivative from Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible. That
Yeah.
wickedness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just to describe the character, but also the society that we live in.
Mm. And with Jonasi, I'm hesitating because I'm sort of hearing the different characters say Joe, Jonasi, Joe.
Joe,
And
Joe. Mhm.
I guess we kind of there's a lot we can glean from maybe his upbringing, right? No
Mhm.
mom, alcoholic
Yes.
dad.
Mm.
Um, have you ever, I guess maybe in your book clubs or just in other settings, have people been like, oh, we would like maybe a kind of backstory on a Jonasi, or to kind of explain a Jonasi, or maybe when you speaking to people, because I know it's obviously very much from the viewpoint of the women that were impacted. But do you kind of get that, like, oh, we would have loved maybe a little bit more to understand how he got
Yeah.
to be who he is? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely there was that. We want to understand him more, why he's like that.
Mm,
I mean, think in the book, I just allude to the fact that he literally grew up motherless and
mm,
his father's an alcoholic. And in the book, he has two brothers, Wanda and Gesho,
mm.
and they're older brothers. And in the book, I think what the series does is it amalgamates the two brothers into one and they create Umagesh.
Yeah.
And they gave Umagesh a nice story arc, which was nice. It was a nice addition, I thought, because I never really delved into his background.
Hmm.
But there's a sense of woundedness. He has a mother wound and a father wound, and that really impacts him as he grows. And he becomes essentially a man who's wounded, which a lot of men are.
Yeah.
So as much as Jonas is a villain, he's also a victim of his own story and his
Mm.
own demise. Yeah. So yeah, that's also I think very important. But I think I probably at that time of writing the book, I would not have had the knowledge
Mm.
to really delve deep into the psychology of the character. I do have it now, but I didn't have it then.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think one of the things that I really like from the book and from the series is a theme that I guess I'll kind of call collateral damage, right?
Yes.
Um, and it's just some of the or even invisible prisons that people have
Yes.
put themselves
Mm.
in. I'm thinking
Lives
about
in, yeah.
Essie,
Essie, yeah,
especially
Essie was, yes.
Joyce. I mean,
Mm.
Matipa, Lindani to a lesser extent, right? Because she.
And I like that you talk about prisons, Nat. Sorry to jump
Mm,
in, but I don't want to lose the point because I think that was one thing they did very well in the film. Because Joyce, that marriage became a prison, and when she's imprisoned in the film, which was never in the series, in the book, in the series we see her go to prison. And I think it shows you that cage. It illustrates that beautifully. Yeah, carry on, sorry.
no, no, and I think because I had a discussion a few episodes ago with Amanda and Senna, and I and one of the things we were saying is like we saw parts of ourselves.
Yes, I think everyone did. Seriously.
And the takeaway from me, like one of the key takeaways was, you know what? You need when you get an L, accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether someone
Mm-hmm.
ghosts you,
Mm-hmm.
like avoid dega if someone because you don't know what you're being protected from. At the time, it's
Yes.
it's it's a heartbreak.
Mm.
But I think about Essie's story, and for me, like Essie's and I think Celeste Ntuni played such a beautiful role.
Exceptionally well, yes.
Absolutely. And but what, because I was trying to think like why would you keep why would you be hidden, right? And then
But
it impact your child. But I was in my mind I was like, I'll test this theory with you. Because in my mind I was like, you know
but
what?
Nat,
Hmm.
you do it all the time. A guy comes to you and says, I have a girlfriend.
Mm,
Not even married. He says, I have a girlfriend. And then you say, okay, it's fine. I'm okay with being the other girl. That's
mm,
how it starts. That's how ASC starts. When you're okay with
yeah,
being the other girl,
yeah.
you're okay when he comes to see you and he's carrying a few beers and he never takes you out on the date,
Mm-hmm.
but he's taking someone else out on those dates. But you're okay with it. You're cool with it. That's how it starts. And then so that's how we end up as OS. You
Mm,
know, you're okay. You're okay to being the shoulder to cry on. You know,
mm,
you're just okay with everything.
yeah,
So I always say, as women, we set the standard of how we want to be treated.
that is so
It
true.
takes you just saying, if he says to you, I have a girlfriend, you say, okay, I'm not okay with that. If you have someone, then it's fine. I mean, now I'm moving on. Okay, I want to be with someone who prioritizes me and who makes me first. That's all it takes. And then when you do that, yes, you might be single, but you might also meet someone who's what? Who's willing to prioritize you and make
Hmm.
you number one.
Yeah.
So we have to also take accountability for our actions. And sometimes we we are responsible for how we are treated because we've said yes to things that demean us. We are saying yes to being hidden. So
Hmm.
when you are hidden for, 18 years, also it's on you as well. You are
Yeah.
an accomplice because you agreed. You said, yes, this is what I'm signing up for. So as much as there are Jonasis who are villains, but also we enable the behavior as women as well.
Yeah.
But it's part of healing is also taking responsibility. And that you're right when you say a lot of women saw themselves. I remember another woman saying, I watched the part when Joyce is pulling him and she's on the ground trying to stop him. And she says, I did that once. She says, when I saw that part, I covered myself because I was like, I was seeing how I must have looked,
Yeah.
but not realizing it. And she was like, I'll never do that again.
Mm.
So, in many ways, a series is like it's a mirror. You see yourself, warts and all. But beyond the mirror, it should cause you to introspect and reflect and actually want to do better
Yeah.
and be better. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, absolutely. It did that for
Mm.
me.
Mm.
I saw myself in Essie, I saw myself in Joyce, the begging scene.
Mhm. Yeah. And you're not
Yeah.
alone. So many women saw themselves. And it was like, you know what? I don't want to be. It's like
Mm,
seeing, and you're like, I don't want to be like that. I
mm,
don't. Mm.
mm. And I guess in that sort of like prison sort of theme, because I'm thinking about Essie, even Matipa to an extent, and this is my theory that I'll test, because with
Mhm.
Essie, I really sat and I was like, why? What makes you, because yeah, like I was like, what makes you do that? But then I was thinking sometimes, and again, this is my theory that, you know, obviously she had a child before, who was not Jonas's child.
Mhm.
And then it kind of gets you wondering, like, oh, sometimes do you keep yourself in a prison because you have made quote unquote an error in the past? And you're like, oh, I can't have another thing again, quote unquote, failing. Um, that was just my theory that, you thinking, oh, I already had a child and this didn't work. Now I've got this. It's not an ideal situation, but I am a wife. I can tell my family that, I am a wife. And I was kind of just thinking, even maybe Matipa, like just her background, coming from struggle and yeah, like, but again, I'm testing that theory. I don't know if you thought about those things when you were writing.
I mean, sometimes I think different people have different reasons for their cages.
Mm,
But you're right that a lot of it is our thoughts, the things we tell ourselves, the lies we tell ourselves. Most of the times, it's a lie that you have believed about yourself because you've heard it repeated. Because you know that lie when people say, but who will want you with two
yep.
kids
Mm-hmm.
from different dads? Or it's who will want you if you're divorced. Those are the lies that become our prisons,
Mm,
you know. Yeah. And when we say the truth will set you free, it certainly does. We should stop subscribing to those things about ourselves, right? And it starts with valuing ourselves, knowing that you're still valuable.
mhm.
Whether you had a child outside of wedlock, you're still valuable.
Yeah.
You're still lovable, you know. And I think it's society. Society demeans women, right? But we are part of that society. We can say point, but who is society's women as well? We are in that society as women. And I think women also the biggest instigators of enforcing patriarchy and patriarchal standards that are harmful
Yeah.
to other women. So I think we need to also start building new narratives that uplift women and uplift each other. That yes, it's okay, you can leave and you can actually be okay. Even if you're building a life on your own with your child, it's still okay.
Yeah.
There's value to having peace and peace of mind and being able to lie down at night and not having to be anxiety or being
Mm,
anxious or being worried or where this person is. There's also value to having a peaceful life.
mm,
And yeah, so it's not always about the fact that ulendoda and you are defined by indoda. And I
yeah.
have nothing against amadoda. I believe, you can have a beautiful relationship,
Yeah.
fulfilling relationship, where there's love and respect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you also need to, set those boundaries. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
protect yourself from harmful things. Yeah.
And just on the book, which character, right, did you write in 2010 that now in 2026, and now that people are sort of like having another a conversation about the book, do you think, oh, I think the 2026 version of me may have done something different to this character?
There are no characters
Mm,
that I would like to rewrite, to be honest with you. Um, I'm happy with those characters. I think they've done what they were meant to do, especially when they've come alive on screen and I see them.
mm,
I wouldn't want to rewrite them in any way. What I didn't do
mhm,
um, was the children. Their characters really were not really fleshed out in the book. And that was simply because when I wrote at the time, my focus was on the women. I
yeah,
wasn't the children, yes, were in the book. They existed. They were in, also the products of this thing that was happening.
mm,
And they are collateral damage, right? But their characters weren't really fleshed out. And my thing was I always said when I write the sequel, because in the book the timeline worked, because the book starts around early 2000s.
mhm,
And I thought by the time I write the sequel, they'll be grown. And I can now pick up, from the POV of the children growing up in
mhm,
this, polygamous setup and what that did to them and what became of them, in their choices. So it was always something I would have liked to revisit in a sequel, which the series then actually picked up on and really gave, the children a greater, story in the series. As you see, Umenzi.
mhm.
Umenzi is an amalgamation of the two Gomorrah sons. Their two sons, Utino Tenda and Garikai. So that Umenzi's story is, yeah, he becomes that character.
Mhm.
So yeah, so for me, it's those the children's characters, yeah,
Yeah.
that I would like to actually explore more, probably in a sequel, yeah.
I mean, you've led me there, so you said sequel. People are asking. I know
No,
obviously, the book and the film, slightly different. But I guess would you do a kind of sequel to, are you planning on writing one?
I mean, I started writing it in COVID, but it was with the children more.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah. I started in COVID, but I never finished. COVID was not an easy time for me.
yeah.
So creatively, I kind of set it aside. But I had started thinking about what a sequel would look like,
Mm-hmm.
and it was certainly centered on the children. And Joyce would be there now as a mother-in-law. You know, um,
Oh,
you see, and the other side of things. So yeah, but yeah, so look, yeah, that's where I've seen it going. But yeah, I think the series is different in the sense that it was updated and made current. So
yeah.
everything's playing out in modern times, whereas in the book I had almost, the advantage of growth if I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to grow those characters. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, but I think if you did, decide to sort of finish that project with the kids, I think it would work. Whether it becomes, on screen or not, or whatever the case is, I think people who are listening to this and are book lovers are going to be sending you are going to be commenting saying, Sue, please finish this book. But I just want to, oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, there's so many people who are writing saying they have a season two story arc. So trust me, people already have their own season twos. They're like, we want to share the season two, and I'm like, hey. And it always starts, some of them it starts with Joyce waking up from a bad dream. And I'm
Oh,
like, in the book, Jonasi dies. The way the book opens with a funeral is the
yeah,
same way the series opens with a funeral.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, no, whoever wanted that to be a dream, no, man, we've been through enough. Jonasi must go. Um, but I want to go back a little bit, because I told you I've been going through your interviews and I've been taking them all in. And
Mm,
one of the things that I heard you speak about, I think it was on the Danny J show, where
mm.
you say that at school you wrote your first book, like handwritten. in a book,
Hmm.
Crazy Over You. It was a bestseller at
Hmm.
school. So I guess can you talk about that? Because I think it's really important for people to see that there's no such thing as overnight success. Like this has been
No.
happening for years. But yeah, I just want to maybe the start of your love for writing, that writing at school creatively, and yeah, just the support that you had to nurture that gift.
So yeah, you're so right, Nat. There's no overnight success. There's overnight recognition, yes, but not success. It's been work in progress, and I've put in the work over the years. So, like you heard, it wasn't a bestseller because it was never sold. There was only ever one copy of my books because I'm handwriting, remember. We
Mm,
cannot reprint or reproduce. We couldn't photocopy. So there was only ever one copy. So it worked like a DVD. One person would have it, and it'd be like one night or two nights at the most. And it would have to move from one classmate to the next. And when the girls at girls' college had finished, it moved to the next school. I had a friend at Gifford, it moved there. It just had to move through the world. And I'm so thankful to all my students. And because the books never got lost. There was never a day someone came and said, I can't find the book. People were precious with it.
mm,
And they returned it and it was circulated. So people always say Sue's books, we knew her from high school. Yeah, so creativity was really encouraged at school as well, but I was more into poetry. I was
mhm.
known for my poetry at school. I won a lot of accolades for poetry and and we had Eisteddfod competition. So it's the prose came much later. I wasn't really, yeah, that didn't win me awards. It was the poetry.
Mhm.
But I think the poetry is the form. I mean, some people ask, will you ever go back to poetry? And I'm like, poetry has changed in the way we were
Yeah.
taught. Yeah, in
Mm,
terms of form and body. But no, I think I like long form writing more. And so for me, I think that the manifestation, when I wrote that first novel, Crazy Over You, I covered it. I put a, picture. I put my name on the cover. I put a blurb at the back. I was already manifesting, what I wanted to. As a 13-year-old, I knew this is what I wanted. And subconsciously, I was already rehearsing, what
mm.
I wanted to see later in life. Yeah. So like you say, it started then and I just built on it. The seeds were planted and it was just watering them over the years, but it was already planted. So a lot of the times I think we know what we want and who we are, but people tell us otherwise
Yeah.
and they will tell you to do other things. But I think you always gravitate to what you were meant to do. And
Yeah.
I think for me, the writing is truly a calling.
Do you still have those books? The
I
books?
do.
Really?
I do.
You know,
I do.
they may need to be seen by the world, so
No, no, I have them, but if you had told me earlier, I would have brought them. Maybe I'll show
yeah.
you. I'll take them at the end and show you so that you can include. I do have them. Yeah,
Wow. But
yeah.
but would you publish them? Or is this now
No,
no,
no.
no.
I mean, it's the writing. It was very elementary. So
Mm,
I always say I can look back over the years and I can see also how I've grown as a writer.
yeah.
Similarly, when I wrote A Family Affair, I don't know if you've read that book. But when I looked at the earlier manuscripts, right, I
Mm,
always say I realized why they were rejected. The the writing wasn't quite there. Even my maturity. There's also the experience that you bring in as a writer.
hmm.
I was writing a book in my 20s that I didn't have the lived experience
Right.
as a woman to write. So sometimes you also need time. Some books need the time and years. So when I
Mm,
wrote it again in my 40s, it worked. So there are some manuscripts I've been able to rewrite. Similarly, An Angel's Demise was also an old manuscript. It was called Skeletons in the Closet. I
okay.
wrote that one when I was 15.
Yeah.
When I revisited the storyline was good. I was like, this can still work.
Mm,
But there was something missing. I was like, this story lacks a background. Like it's just up in the air. So I was able to, it's like I can see what those books needed now
yeah.
and I can add it and then yeah, they make sense. So some of the ideas are not bad at all. It's just the execution.
Mm.
I was also young, remember?
I mean,
Yeah.
this is amazing because you've got such rich material, right, that you
Hmm.
can draw from, and it truly shows that this was your calling. Um, even as you're saying it, I'm remembering there's some people at school who are just great at writing. Like
Hmm.
they literally like you would look forward to reading their short
They
stories.
wish.
And yeah, and I guess it's that thing of growing up in Zim and sometimes maybe just not having that support to um nurture your creative writing,
Mhm.
which sometimes impacts a lot of people. But I guess just a question on, obviously, we've talked about like the polygamist and how well it's doing. How are you managing the high? Like everyone being interested in the characters that you created, right? And I'm sure being interested in your work. And I'm sure that comes with a lot of high, a lot of gratitude, but how are you managing it? Because we do know that sometimes with some highs, like you can kind of get, it can be overwhelming, and
Mhm.
sometimes, you can sort of get lows. So how are you managing that? How are you coping with all the interest and yeah, the global fame, Sue?
I think it's still sinking in, Net. I think for me, life would have probably carried on as usual. But now there's recognition.
Mm.
I went into the supermarket last week, and people were just staring at me, which is, until I asked someone, "Do you want a picture?" And they said yes, and then everyone came. And so I think that's what I was not used to, right? There's people now recognize my face, which is never. I mean, I could just move seamlessly through life unnoticed, which I can't really do now. I've come to realize because people now realize, and it's quite interesting because oftentimes, I'm sure you watch films. Do you ever really bother to see who's the author if it's based on a book? You don't really check, right?
Yeah.
So I think the difference now is people watch the series and they were like, but who wrote this?
Mm.
Who wrote this book? And so it's like the attention then circled back to me. And now people are reading the book. Those who haven't read the books are reading them and they're buying them, and the sales have shot up, which is, a testimony of just how much they were intrigued by the series, but to want to circle back to the book really shows that, it truly is a success story.
Mm.
So I think I'm just getting used to the idea, you know, because I'm not really a limelight person. Most of us writers are
Yeah.
really quite happy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, so people are now requesting interviews, so I show up,
Yeah.
and I answer questions, yeah. But yeah, but for me, I'm still Sue the writer. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah.
No, and we look forward to reading more from you. And
Mm,
I like what you say that, like with a lot of adaptations, we don't necessarily sort of look at the author. But
mm,
I really love what Netflix has done because your name is quite prominent. Like
mhm,
you have got the Harlan Coben treatment. Like Harlan
mm,
Coben's is like a Harlan Coben series. I was like, so like, because it's literally there. It's like, adapted from a book by Sue Nyathi, and I really love that. And what I've loved as well is like when I hear like creators that I follow, they're always like crediting. They're like, it's
mm,
coming from a book by the author Sue Nyathi, and I'm like, amazing, amazing. So I guess
mm,
what was that like? And obviously there's the stained glass production and
mhm.
sort of working with them, but I've seen, I guess, pictures of you on set, and sort of interested in sort of what was that process like? How involved were you like during the filming? Um, yeah, and maybe like with Netflix or whatever, like how was that like?
So I wasn't really involved in the production.
Right.
Yeah. So when they did the adaptation, they had Stained Glass had a writer's room headed by Ubusisi Wezwani. I think the team was probably like 10 writers
Hmm.
altogether. Yeah. It's what, 22 episodes. So I'm not new to the writer's room. I do have screenwriting credits. I mean, my first credit I got for a series called Matatiele. I think it came out 2015, 2016. Yeah, that
Hmm.
was my first credit. I wrote the pilot episode. And so for me, that was like, you know, yeah. So, but and I've since got other credits, on other, series. I used to storyline on Generations as well. So yeah, the credits were not new, but yeah, when you say like when your name is in the front, yeah, you're like,
Hmm.
yeah. And I'm like, that's me. So, yeah, it's a different, I don't know, it's a different kind of proud moment,
Yeah.
and it's watching it and saying, I did that, those characters came from my head, yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a beautiful moment, and a testimony of my work. So for me, it was such an affirmation, like,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, you did that, you are
Yeah.
that girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you are the girl. And did some of the actors sort of I guess consult with you to be like, I just want to understand a little bit more about the character. Did you have any conversations with some of the actors who may have been interested in kind of drawing on like what your inspiration was?
No, not at all. I think
Mm.
the yeah, I didn't really interface with the actors
Okay.
until after the series.
Oh, okay.
That's when I met them post shoot. I think
Right.
the only actor I met during this shooting was Ukukukumete, because she's the number one on the call sheet. So
Hmm.
she's essentially the star of the show. And she carried the show. And
Mm.
she did an amazing job. I mean, I think she has so much range,
Yeah.
you know. And I was really, she really did the character Joyce justice. So I met a lot of the cast afterwards.
Right.
Who
Okay.
Celeste I knew prior. We'd
Hmm.
met through a book club. Who
Right.
Celeste always says I was unfair to Essie's character. And she's like, you did her dirty. And I'm like,
Yeah.
we always have this fight, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so most of them I met post production.
Yeah.
And I think some of them had not read the book,
Hmm.
some had.
Mm.
So, I don't know if that really influenced how they brought, the characters to life. I
Yeah.
know the leads had read the book,
Mm.
but yeah, but for me, I think they did a great job. I mean, obviously and I like that. Yeah, I liked, I think I like how they brought it to life in that sense. Like, because you look at, I mean, Joyce's character was obviously changed a bit. The Joyce in the series has more agency than the Joyce in the book, but
Right.
it was still a very convincing performance, you know.
Mm.
And yeah, the adaptation, I mean, they did bring other storylines that were not in the original book, but I think overall it enhanced the book. It didn't take away from the book.
Yeah.
And I think people have enjoyed the series and enjoyed the book both equally. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Mm.
I think for me, there's just
Mhm.
there's been a sense of real sort of like integrity, like
Mhm.
with the group, and I really like them really crediting you, and you likewise, really giving them flowers, and yeah, I think that was really amazing. I guess in
It's
terms, yeah, sorry.
I also it's important to understand that film is a collaborative effort.
Mm,
You know, it's not a one man show.
yeah.
Um, it takes it's team effort, and I think everyone on the production cast crew came to the party. Everyone came to the party, because sometimes you can have a great script, but you
Yeah.
can have poor, the acting is bad.
Hmm.
But I think in this instance, everyone who was involved really brought the A game, and it shows because we have a series that people are constantly talking about
Yeah.
long, after the credits.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just out of interest, right, with all
Mm-hmm.
the sort of like global interest and overseas interest, is there any particular celebrity creator that has commented on the series that kind of surprised you? Are you like, oh wow, I already enjoy your work or consume your work, and yeah,
Everything's a surprise, Nat, at
yeah.
this point. It's like, like I'm telling you, like honestly, I don't think any
Mm,
of us did expect it to blow up globally. So
mm,
that really, so all the comments is everything is just a surprise. The reception is a surprise. I mean, look, I had expected when I watched, those series, I thought it would do well. I thought we're gonna trend, in Southern Africa.
Yeah.
But then I thought, like anything, it will trend and that's where it's gonna end.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really exceeded my expectations in terms of, and even beyond beyond the series, people are reaching out,
Mm.
um, offers for the rights of the book, translation rights. So there's been lots of other things happening as well. And also for me, speaking engagements, people really are keen to know
Yeah.
more about Sue Nyathi. So I think this has done for me what, you know, I don't, this kind, it's given me a kind of PR I would never have gotten otherwise.
Yep.
And writing from the deep south, as I call it, writers who are published in Southern Africa tend to be ignored.
Yeah.
You tend to get more mileage as a writer, an African writer, if you're published overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's easier to sell the books down to Africa. It's harder for us to sell our books up to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So it really has done a lot in terms of my brand and positioning and my name. People
Mm.
now know who Sunyati is. If they didn't know, now they do. And they're going to look for my work, which is amazing. And more than that, they're going to start looking at other writers in the South and saying, what else is there? Who else is there? Who's writing? So I think now is the spotlight is on Southern African writers. A door has been opened for us, and
Yeah.
let's all go through. Let's all
Oh,
go through.
I love
Mm.
that. I love that. And I love that you're saying that people are discovering, you. And one of my favorite books, I will say this all the time, is Gold
Mm.
Diggers.
Yeah.
That book, I finished the book because I was reading it and listening on Audible as
Oh
well.
dear. Mhm.
And I finished it on Audible and I was walking, I stood in on one spot for like 10 minutes because I was like, ah. So I mean, you may not be able to tell us, but I want to see that book on screen. So please, what's
Yeah,
happening?
it's a favorite with a lot of people. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, watch the space, as they say.
Listen, okay. I'm going to take that as a listen. I want to be an extra. I want to be the best person in the bus from Max Garage. Like even if I'm at the
Yeah,
back.
and we must have Max Garage thing because if the people who know Max Garage, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and I refuse to call it BP or whatever they want to call
No,
it
no, it's
nowadays.
always going to be Max Garage.
No, so no, I'm encouraged by what you've just said because I'm like, yeah, we're going to build the prayer points over this because gold
Yes,
digger,
we got yeah. Let's speak into existence. We're
yes.
speaking it into yes.
No, and I know you got gold diggers, a family affair, angel of demise. Um, I I think I've heard you saying you're writing another book,
Yeah, I'm busy on my fifth novel. Yeah, at
right?
the moment. Yeah.
Will it come out soon or
No, it's not going to be soon. Probably
okay,
next year. Yeah.
right?
No, if it comes out, it'll be next year. Let me not say. Yeah, because there's some books.
Mm,
This not might not necessarily be ready to be published. But yeah, I'm working. But definitely next year there will
okay.
be a new Sunyati novel. But I've just finished also editing an anthology titled Manhood: Confessions from the Heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's a collection of non-creative fiction essays, non-fiction creative essays. Yeah, that's what they are,
Mm-hmm.
by 21 men reflecting on manhood and masculinity, which I think has become a very important and pertinent conversation
Yeah.
nowadays. Yeah,
That's quite timely, right? Like with all the
yeah,
conversation from like about the patriarchy and Jonasi and women upholding the so no, I look
yeah.
forward to that. That's quite
And this
timely.
thing, femicide, I mean, you've just heard recently that Bulawayo guy, Obulelu Mfazi. And I mean, it's shocking.
I went to school
Yeah.
with her, Sue. Like where
Are you
it's
serious, man?
so close to home. I
Oh
know
my
them.
God.
I
You
I
know them. Oh no.
it's so close
Yeah.
to home and
Mm,
it's just unthinkable. It is unthinkable. But like you say, it's so important that these conversations are had because
mm.
you wouldn't think in 2026, like,
Yes. Our generation.
yeah,
This is our generation. We should be
yeah,
doing better. We are not.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
It's shocking.
Mm.
Absolutely shocking, absolutely shocking. But yeah, no, Sue, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. I've gone over my time. Sengidlulisa amalawulo.
No, akulandaba. Injalo.
I had so
Injalo.
many questions, so many other questions, but you know what? I just want to say thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
I thank you for responding because I was like, yo, Sue's gone out there. Let me try and speak to her before Oprah.
No, wenze kahle ngiyabonga.
No, 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 no. Thank you so much. So, to everyone, I would encourage you, please check out all the books. All the books, all the books. Please check them out. Please invite Sue to speak. You know, wherever you are in the world. And Sue, we're so proud of you. So proud of you. And I pray that God continues expanding your territory. That
Amen.
that prayer of
Amen.
Jabez will just always be a stamp over your life. So
Amen.
thank you, Manyat. Siyabonga.
Ngiyabonga, ngibonga mina.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Lisale kuhle.